Hey everyone, and welcome back to Reading with an Otaku. It's your host, J-Rock Freak, here to dive into another book that's been on my radar. Now typically, I bring you full reviews or deep dives into manga, light novels, and the occasional Western fantasy. But today, we're doing something a little different. Think of this as a book spotlight. A quick look at a book I've only read a preview of, or perhaps just a summary, to give you a taste and help you decide if it's something you want to dive into yourselves without me spoiling anything. Today, we're putting the spotlight on a book that's been getting some buzz, and honestly, a lot of mixed reviews across the BookTube community. The Deer and the Dragon by C.J. Piper. Now let's get into what this book is all about, just from the premise and the initial preview I got my hands on. Picture this. The core concept of this story immediately grabs you. It opens with this super intriguing line. The deities you call aren't always the ones who answer. Right? That just sets a tone that screams urban fantasy with a dark twist. Our main character is Marlowe, and her life sounds anything but ordinary. She's plagued by visions, seeing angels and demons, and honestly she just desperately wants to believe she's crazy. The alternative? Well, that would mean embracing a gift, or maybe a curse, that runs in her family, a gift shared by her mother. The most haunting part of her struggle is this dark, unsettling entity that's apparently been with Marlowe her entire life. She's been living with this thing, believing it's just another part of her terrifying visions. But then things take an even wilder turn. A fae, straight out of the Nordic pantheon, just strolls into Marlowe's life. And what does this fae casually drop on her? Only the bombshell that the entity she's been sharing her life and sometimes her bed with is none other than the Prince of Hell. Yeah, you heard that right, the Prince of Hell. And if that wasn't enough to make your jaw drop, this prince is now missing. Naturally, Marlowe finds herself completely, hopelessly, tangled in a conflict that's been raging for centuries. She's thrown headfirst into a battleground teeming with mighty beings of myth and legend, pulled from powerful pantheons all over the world. We're talking Norse, probably Greek, maybe Egyptian. The sky's the limit when you're dealing with global pantheons. The stakes are astronomically high, and the fate of this ancient war and maybe the world might just depend on Marlowe herself, and on a love she never even dared to believe could exist. Talk about pressure. So, that's the premise. Sounds pretty epic, right? Like I mentioned, I'd seen a few bookish YouTubers I follow giving this one a read, and the reactions were definitely diverse. That got my curiosity piqued, but also just from that premise alone, I wasn't entirely sure if this book was for me, or if I was part of the target audience. And no, it's not because I'm a guy, to be clear. It was more because the premise hinted at themes, especially with the angels and demons and the potential for deep introspection, that might align more strongly with readers who have, say, religious trauma, or those who identify as queer, neither of which are experiences I personally bring to my reading. So, before committing to a full read, I figured out the best way to test the waters was to listen to a preview of the audiobook. And after listening to that preview, I have to be honest, it was a unique experience. The tone, at least for me, felt a little flat. It sort of felt like listening to someone read off their dating app profile, informative, yes, but lacking a certain spark, a deeper emotional resonance in the delivery. It just lacked something, at least for my personal taste. Now, I know some people don't love Colleen Hoover books, and while I wouldn't usually compare a fantasy novel to her work, this book, in its vibe from the preview, felt a little like her maybe not books. And oddly enough, I actually enjoyed those. The key difference here, of course, is that The Deer and the Dragon has that massive fantasy aspect that Hoover's books just don't. So, where does that leave me with The Deer and the Dragon? Based on the preview alone, and my personal reaction to its tone, I probably won't be checking out the full version of this one unless I can find an audiobook version for really cheap or even free. It didn't quite grab me enough to compel a purchase right now. However, and this is super important, my personal experience with the preview doesn't mean it's not the perfect book for you. If any of what I just described, Marlowe's struggle with her visions, the incredibly high stakes of a war between powerful pantheons, the mystery of a missing prince of hell you've been sleeping with, and a love story intertwined with all that chaos, sounds like your kind of jam, then you absolutely should give The Deer and the Dragon a look. Have you read The Deer and the Dragon? Or has this book spotlight, or maybe even my lukewarm preview experience, made you curious enough to check it out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear different perspectives. If you enjoyed this book spotlight, please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to Reading with an Otaku for more bookish content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. If you love urban fantasy that pulls from diverse mythologies, if you enjoy stories where the lines between good and evil are blurred, and where personal identity is intertwined with epic destiny, or if you're looking for a romance with a paranormal, high-stakes edge, then C.J. Piper's The Deer and the Dragon might just be your next favorite read.